Welcome everyone to the JNC podcast. Here today we got Elijah Green, Jose Santiago, Tommy Rowe, Chris LeBlanc, me, aka the DB Grinder, Isaiah Houston, Yampi Rahman, and then John Wilkin. All right, and I don't know what the first topic of the podcast is today. We can talk about the ban list. Anyone have any opinions about it?
I feel it's the worst banlist ever.
Why is mine still legal?
Everyone wants to say it. Why is Mystic Mind still not on the ban list? And it's probably
Yeah.
the most cringe thing that could ever happen. But I mean, it makes sense with how they're trying to swing like the runic deck, like how it synergizes very well with the card. But I also think it limits other players' like creativity. Like you can't really do anything about it. So that card obviously needs to get hit.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's just like
Tier didn't get hit at all either. That's probably the other big elephant.
Yeah,
in the room.
I think
They lost Snow,
the
but that's
biggest part of tier actually getting hit. Snow is like a huge hit, even though it didn't really seem like it, because I feel like it made it so much better than Sprite with Snow in the deck. But now, I mean, I feel like it has obviously Sprite did lose Ronan Tonin, so it's a lot less consistent. But I think Snow is probably one of the most influential hits on the ban list.
I feel like the craziest hit was Ronan Tonin because I feel like Tears kind of got a slap on the wrist. Like Ronan Tonin kind of make like the pure Sprite deck almost unplayable, and I kind of see Sprite as more like an engine now. Not having Ronan Tonin is very like important. Like, yeah, of course you can make Toe, but it's not the same. It kind of makes your deck like now you have to either lose a Dark Ruler or lose to like Nib. Like when you just normally didn't. If you drew Swap Frog, you didn't really care about like Nib.
Yeah, and your ending board is also more weaker now. The fact that you have it.
Let's not forget about Hulk. Hulk also being taken out of the Sprite deck makes it a lot worse. They took away like the combo engine with E-Telly because you can't make Chaos Ruler anymore. You can't make Hulk. This is like a huge change in shift for like power. Like you're not putting up as crazy of a board anymore. Especially you don't have the access to any tuner in the game with Hulk being gone. So I think that was a huge change as well.
Yeah, I think another thing that people aren't really talking about is the direction that the research and development team kind of chose to go with. They decided to ban like a lot of cards that are really fun and people really like. Like although they're very
the one card that is not fun.
Yeah, but it's just like
also like
banned
the
all these
engine now is not
high impact cards. Yeah, but they left so many cards like Goes In, Rivalry, D-Shifter, Mystic Mind untouched. So it's kind of like maybe they're leaning more towards a casual base and wanting to cater towards the people who buy product, perhaps. So it's kind of interesting take that I really haven't heard people talk about, but something maybe to keep an eye on for future analysts.
Bro, they also banned Rev Reboot, you know?
I mean, the cards deserve to be banned. Yeah.
Cards in like every side deck.
Yeah.
Literally everyone.
It's almost like arguably the card you should side in, almost going second in every matchup, regardless. Because regardless, even against combo decks,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they made good hits. When you said fun cards, did you mean like Fiber and Chaos Ruler?
Yeah, I guess it's hard to be objective when I say fun cards because maybe to other people those cards aren't fun. But yeah, I would say like those cards in general, I would say are like among some of the higher, usage cards that are just fun to use. Like it's fun to use Hulk, it's fun to use Chaos Ruler, it's fun to use Snow.
Speaking of that. Spellbook of Judgment just got unbanned, so that is one of the more fun cards. I'd say, like a bad deck, but it's totally irrelevant in the current format. I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, I think they were good hits, like you hitting Chaos Ruler means you don't have to hit E-Telly, so that helps them with like future card design. I mean, hitting Fiber, I didn't think they was gonna pull the trigger on that, but I'm okay with that. Like those are cards that are kind of crazy. Like you always trade unfair with your opponent when you like summon those cards. Like you imperm like Hulk or Chaos Ruler, it's fine. You know, you don't. It's still fine.
We talk about how they ban like Fiber, Snow, Pepege, but what about Sai? They also haven't hit Sai for a minute.
Well, they did just hit Fiber.
Got a little worse.
So and there's no DP. You can't really make DPE anymore.
They just keep making the card worse indirectly.
Without Fiber, dude, it's like almost it's not impossible. Like you can Baron still, but no Fiber now, so it's kind of hard to even do Baron. So I think they'd like just kind of outright made that engine kind of bad because like there's no like good way to do it, and it's like it's not as influential anymore. Especially with like all the hand traps in the format. Like I would even say like Nib certainly is being played still. Like Infirm, all like Ash, Crow, like
And the Bistons are coming out. They
Yeah,
answer that card
exactly.
pretty well. They're super good versus size. So.
that whole engine answers it. Yeah.
Yeah, that engine's gonna be bully.
Ben 10-3. That was a cool one. Even though, I love my Drytrons.
I know how you get.
Yeah, and they get to keep mine.
Yeah, and you really only need Dark Ruler and Mine in that deck, even Droplet. I mean, you just never really
Droplet
rely
get a
on
lot
hand
better
traps.
now. Droplet get a lot better now.
Yeah, Droplet's definitely a really good card right now. I was thinking so like even towards the end of like last format, there's just a lot of utility, especially because like when you're playing the tier mirror, you need to get rid of Dweller, and there's just really only one way to do that because they're doing it in draw phase. So, and they're not really playing into Super Poly.
I don't know. It's weird though, because it's like if everyone's guaranteed searching a continuous trap, then like they're always going to be able to respond to droplets.
Yeah, Griffin Curious searches every card in the game. That's why they should have banned Curious.
Yeah, but most of the time they're always going to shotgun the Dweller, so like they're using it first rather than just like.
Yeah, they hit a pointer, but they didn't hit anti-spell, which I think is
was like very very weird.
Yeah, that actually was weird.
I mean, if
I
trap
think honestly
is banned, then like you kind of have to hit a pointer, right? It makes sense.
Yeah, a pointer is one of like the craziest cards like in the current format when you go first, obviously, but anti-spell, even Eradicator, like they still like have a huge impact. Like even going into next format, and they're still searchable cards, which should just not be a thing.
Yeah, them being
they're gonna
searchable is
realize
the
it way too
problem.
late.
The card themselves is like whatever. You decide
Yeah.
you're going first card, you blow
And
them
they're
out if you draw.
non-searchable cards.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Elijah. Actually,
if we sat down and like, all right, what's our win rate, or we establish like a board or just like a negate with anti-spell, and we just draw like a pointer with like a decent hand, like it's like having that negate, especially with anti-spell, is just crazy.
And I think they were trying to do that.
Cards in the point deck.
They were trying to take away the Omni negates, so like it's a lot harder now to make Toad. It's a lot harder to make Baron. There's like not as many Omni negates coming out, so like it's I see what they're doing. They're trying to like stray away from that.
It's also interesting like how they decide to hit the cards, because like in theory, if they decided to hit Snow, it's weird that they hit Chaos Ruler instead of hitting with like a card like Curious, right? Like Curious and Chaos Ruler kind of do similar things.
I think Curious should be banned.
100% it should be banned. It's very interesting.
Biggest miss for me on the list. Yeah.
I think you had to choose Chaos Ruler or Curious. Like either or would have been fine.
But I think if you're gonna ban one, you almost have to ban both, right? Like, doesn't it make sense?
I think Chaos Ruler
so much
in
harder
the
to
format.
make. Like the only reason Curious is even valuable is because they like put Nessie to 3.
If you're gonna
like,
have Griffin in the format, if Griffin's in the format, you probably have to ban Curious, and then Chaos Ruler. Honestly, like it could have like slid through. If I'm being real, with Hulk being gone, I wouldn't say it's as easy to make Chaos Ruler, and it's not as impactful anyway.
Yeah, but Curious is worse for game design, future purposes, because as the meta progresses and its power creep continues, it'll be easier and easier to make Curious.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying.
So
I agree that Curious should be banned.
If you're milling your whole deck, then it's just the same thing, right?
It's really not, because it
I feel like
cards
Griffin
searchable.
is worse.
That's the reason why. Well, yeah,
like
that's the reason
setting
why.
any card from your grave is just crazy, and it's a floodgate.
Also, another thing, like, what do you guys think about the Brave? Because they also didn't touch nothing of the Brave engine.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
We knew they wasn't gonna hit that. They still had to reprint it, right? It's got to make money off of.
Yeah, you know how they are.
That's honestly probably the truth. Honestly, you probably just said it. Like, it was weird that they hit Hulk. Yet Hulk isn't really in the format. Aside from these like crazy combo punk tier element decks, and while those decks are real, they weren't. I wouldn't say it was like a majority of the format. To be honest, I would say like pure tier had more representation, if anything.
I think
I agree. It's a danger tier.
Like R&D, what they don't really care if like is in the format or not. I think that their mind is like, what are the most played engines? We want to sell future product. Like having the Punk engine and having Hulk is like that's gonna hurt future product design because that engine's forever gonna be good. You know, those cards are always gonna be good and no matter what format. Like Fiber been good since it came out. So has Chaos Rulers. Like those are always gonna be good cards. Punk Engines will always find its way in a deck. So I think that was their mindset, like just hitting engines that will like hurt future card design. They got to sell new
Yeah.
archetypes eventually.
Yeah, and they're pushing new archetypes like out like every year, especially because we just had Sprite and Tier come out, and now we have the bested cards. Like there's way too many engines coming out that it's like impossible for it to be like a Tier 0 format. Like there's just so many different decks, even Exo being the format too.
So you think Exorcist is a top 5 deck right now?
Yeah.
I'd say D-Shifter puts it.
Yeah, I was
there,
gonna say if you draw D-Shifter, hell yeah, tier
But
one.
that's just like 33% of the time, like you're gonna win the game because you're playing versus a certain deck, which is like, good enough for me to play it in an event, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you still brick
I
on
think some people want to
shifter.
do stuff to get hit.
Yo, so with that being said, bro, like, what you guys think is the move for having these two YCS coming out next week? Like,
I think it's definitely difficult planning on playing two events, especially that they have a new set that comes out right before Minneapolis, and then Ecuador is like just post banlist without the set, so a lot of people aren't even testing for it. So I've found that hard to like finding testing circles where like everyone is like focusing on the tournament you're playing, but it's realistically like impossible unless they're going to.
yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
start with Ecuador. Start with Ecuador out of the two.
I mean, we
what do we
basically
think?
have 3 different formats within a month and a half.
Yeah,
Right.
so it's kind of out there.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a lot of events with unsolved formats, just like
Which is fine though, because it rewards the players that like have a better grasp of like the overall Yu-Gi-Oh. So like,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. Because you can't
it's good
take
for
a
the
deck from last event.
yep, and you literally your deck is gonna have to change no matter what for the week after, and
so really good players to prosper, you know.
yeah, and not to mention that Ecuador is the 3v3 as well, so like it's a whole different dynamic. Like playing with a team rather than playing by yourself. Also, like everything that comes with playing a 3v3 is way more.
So Chris, you're going to that event, like how you would tell people, how will you prepare for that event? Like, do we matter having who is player A, B, and C? Like how you shoot your teammates? Like what do you think is the proper for that event?
So my teammates are Patrick Hoban and Desmond Johnson. So at first, me and Patrick were discussing. He wanted to put Desmond in the middle so we could both help him because he has the least experience in the current format. But I told him it should really be whoever can communicate with as many people as possible. I think should be the middle player, like always. I think you should like have that person pretty much be like conducting like all 3 matches at once. So I would put that over like having 2 people be able to help somebody.
Okay. Anyone want to add anything else? Like take from that?
That's how I always approach 3v3s. Whoever makes reads the best, we usually put them in the middle, and they can kind of call out hand traps a lot easier, just based off like how people are acting. But
yeah. Also, how you prepare like bringing a deck to the table? Like, do you think that all 3 players should play the same deck? Do you? You guys should like
I'm
switch
a
up.
firm believer in that. Yes, I do believe that if you believe you're playing the best deck for the tournament and you have a good idea, it's pretty concrete. Like I think you guys should all be playing the same deck. There's no real reason, and it has nothing to do with what spot you put your teammate in to where like they should be playing a different deck. Like you shouldn't be playing Flunder because you're spot A. Like you should literally all be playing the best deck that you come up with.
I mean, it's probably an advantage to all play the same deck too, right? So everyone knows like what the lines are, how to make decisions quick,
exactly,
and at what game states everyone's at.
You should be working as one player, but you're obviously 3. You know, it should be like you're still playing like as one player.
There's a small argument for that though, because if you're all 3 playing the same deck, and this happened to me at the last 3v3, and you sit down against some other team doing the same thing, and it's an extremely bad matchup. Like we were all 3 playing Lunalight, and we versed Jesse Cotton's team of all 3 playing the Shadals after they got the structure deck, and we just couldn't win. It was just a horrible matchup. So
I would assume you need to like prepare like to obviously not have any like extremely bad matchups, but I mean that's just gonna happen in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like anyway. Like say if you're playing 3 tier decks and then you're matched up against 3 Exo Sisters, like it's the same thing. But that
Yeah.
really happens with like Triangle E formats. Like, I know it's not exactly 3 decks in the current format, but like there's enough decks for you to like not always have like good matchups against what you play against. So
Yeah.
And if they just don't know what it does, you just get the advantage times 3.
yeah,
Because like, especially with 3v3s, I feel like there's usually one person on the team that hasn't played as much, right?
yeah, that's normally how
Like
it
it's
is
like a
too.
homie.
Yeah, so like at first we were having a hard time finding the third, and then like we realized it really just like doesn't matter as long as like we're all playing the same deck and like can like help each other out. Like it's the third person rarely like matters, but it's definitely going to matter like later on in the tournament because you're not going to win every round, even if like you're in your confident players. So it's definitely a hard event to win, but
Okay, what do you think, Isaiah?
Huh?
No, he's not there.
I think he's muted.
Yeah. Austin, any thoughts, bro?
I mean, I've never played in a 3v3 YCS. I've only done like small tourneys. But I mean, I understand what like Chris was saying, like talking about like everyone should play the same deck, because like that's how I think everyone should play the same deck. But there's also a lot of people that, don't want to have the bad matchups, so they'll put like, 2 of like what you think quote unquote the best deck is like tier, and then one player on like Exorcister or Flunder. So what do you think about that? Do you think it should still just be like 3 tier?
I think it would be
It's
more
just
of
like
a
a metagame.
liability
I
to
think it
have
really
the
depends.
I
Like
think
only thing,
3v3s are just for the homies.
yeah, only reason I play in 3v3s is to like vibe out with my friends. Like when you're playing with your friends and you're having fun, like that's all
I
that
think
matters.
it's a
But
great experience. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah,
I
it
have
is
not
fun.
played a 3v3 where I have not had fun, and I haven't played a 3v3 YCS
Yeah.
yet either. So it's
So I haven't played 3v3 YCS yet. As far as the decks, I've played in like 3v3 side events. It is tough to say. The way I like to do it is like 2 people with the same deck and 1 person with like not the same deck. But
Yeah,
because
I agree.
when I play with the
I
same
think
deck, like it's weird because then they kind of like assume that you're on the same sidecars too. And I don't want that kind of predictability within the matchups.
I also like. I think. I think it was Elijah. It was you who talked about the Lunalite stuff, right? Like that. Yeah, like that whole thing. Like that's happened to me before. Where like I've gone into a 3-3 where like it wasn't. I haven't played 3-3 YCS, but like I played 3-3 side event where like um every single like match, like our decks were like identical, and like it was fine because we had the best deck. But then we played against another team that also thought they had the best deck, and they played 3 of it, and then just crushed us because we had a bad matchup. Like it happens, and I think that like spreading out the decks in order so that you have what you think is the best deck for like 2 of the decks, and just another deck that kind of counters like
Yeah.
a counter that you also think is good. I think is like a more strategical approach. But if you think you really do have the best deck of the format, then and you're really confident with it, and you don't think that there's a matchup that you just get destroyed by, then if you think it's a safe call, then it's worth it. Like an example is they got second, but it was the 3-3 that Jesse Furman and Salah got second at. They had almost identical Thunder decks. Like that's an example where Thunder was just the best deck by far, and it was a good call because they just got lucky in the finals. Like they just had the best deck in the room. But like
Yeah.
you have to kind of be careful with like going into a tournament like that.
Also,
Yeah,
like the Jesse Toppin thing, I thought it was kind of wild how like they planned their side decks, because I think it was like the player B had like Mystic Mine and stuff like that inside, and then the other 2 players had like Kaijus or something. So like that's like another really cool
that'll
way to
throw
like
them
mind
off.
game
Yeah,
your opponent.
yeah, that
Yeah.
you have to have that because I played a 3v3 side event and like we were both playing the same deck and then we were both playing cherries. So like he's telling his boy, yo, he's playing cherries too. And we had the same deck. I normally like no matter what you do, if you play like the best deck, like as long as 2 people I think play the same deck and kind of have a different side, and like that deck is like good enough. Like I've played with my friends and they like back in the day, and all they played was like Dracos. So they both played Dracos, and I knew they were. I was confident because they were really good with the deck, and I played Salad, or even I've had like closer formats like playing the Brave like Tenny deck. So like me and my boy played the Brave Tenny, and then we had someone play Swordswell, and we kind of had identical decks, and we did like really good at those like smaller tournaments. So I
There's
kind of
been
like
a
that.
lot of there's been
Yeah.
a lot of events where me and Pat have played the same deck, but then changed up the side deck because I thought like the meta was like a little bit different, like in my eyes, than he saw things. So like I think that's happened a lot, just like based on playing the same main deck. And so it could happen for like the 3v3, like depending on what we agree on.
Yeah, I
Let
feel
me
like
one up you
side is
guys real
fine.
quick in the
I think the biggest thing though is communication. Like you have to have really solid players that kind of like can play their games
That
without
work well
you.
together, right?
So people always say work well together, but like I'm kind of a little bit confused on that. Like you should
So
be able to say like, "Yo, I like maybe try this," without me like
more so with mind
getting
games is
upset,
what I was
right?
hinting at. Like I was
Mind
hinting at
games.
like the fact that like you should be able to say something and your teammate should already know that you're doing it and like to try to like gain advantage, not based off of like them having to ask you like, oh, what do you mean? But like you doing something, like as if you had like a hand trap like in your hand. Like, oh, don't activate that one. Like, there's a bunch of things that you can do to
You don't want
like
to.
blow
If
out.
you
Yeah.
got cues between yourself, that's gonna work well. Because like everything when you're saying it, you got to communicate it, loud enough so the whole table can hear. So to having that, like you have like you said, I don't know, like a code or word that means that you have hand trap or a hand trap here or something like that. That's like really good. I played against a team and it was like, oh, do the thing. And I'm like, all right, so you got nib or whatever. But that was
You're
cool that
allowed to
they
do
had that.
that?
I don't think
Uh,
you're allowed to use code words, but
Yeah,
I
and
think
so
are you
and
not
so
allowed to use those?
I'm talking about like when you like I'm just like specifically saying like, oh, like you should do it now, as if like when you're responding to something that you can like legally respond to, and then like they might think you have nib or something, but like
yeah,
it's just, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not
yes,
saying like you're using code words.
that's
Are you
that's
not allowed to use code words? I know you're not really allowed to speak mixed languages, but
You can't speak like other languages like to your teammates.
yeah,
So
I
like I
know
would
that.
assume
But
it's
like
under
code words,
under
can
the
you
same.
like you have like a term that you
I
can
think it's
say?
the same thing. I don't think you can.
Okay, I haven't played in like those like a YCS level. I
yeah.
think it was more like two, but
I
Well,
I
it would
play
go into the same thing as if like your spectator was watching you in a regular match and then they said something and then like what I'm saying, like that's just a code word. Like it means nothing in like reality to like everyone else, but like maybe between you guys but
you
that's
just told him he had nib in
yeah.
his hand.
yeah,
I think
like
I think kind of like talking about this is like similar to what you were talking about earlier, but like knowing like using your teammates to like kind of change your opponent's perception of your hand is like really useful. Like that is
wanted to talk
disheartening.
about what John was saying though, like because I think that's like cute what you had mentioned about like kind of you mind gaming with your teammates. Now here's the thing that was why I mentioned communication, because when you're playing a 3v3, right, and some it's just like a regular game. Some games you're gonna be against better players, and you're not always gonna have to communicate with your teammate. But you're gonna have to really focus in on your game.
sometimes you're not going to
Like
be able
like
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 people
that
should
may
Yeah.
not work. That
communicate
may
with
work on
your
player
teammate,
A, but it's not gonna work on player B, right? So you may be sitting across from a good player that those mind games not gonna work. Like they're gonna
but
do,
that
if
it
they're gonna
comes to a whole
respect
nother
them, they're gonna
level.
do their game plan regardless. And if you're a player that if you come into a 3v3 expecting to help your teammate, like that's not the good idea of winning the actual event. You shouldn't really
I
have to
think
like
I think you should be able to help them
to
in
a
a
certain
way to
extent.
like that aren't normal. Like your teammate should obviously know what he's doing, but like I do like I
Yeah,
would rather promote you helping your teammate and like making it so like you're playing as one player. Honestly, I feel like that would be the best strategy.
As long as you're
yeah, I
quick
agree.
and not treating it like DB, Discord, like
I
Yeah,
guess
it's
to
people
fair.
everyone else's
people
point
got
too,
to
there's
work
like
on pace.
probably
People got. I've noticed like especially like the tournaments that I played in. I played in like the two ICSs and Nats. Like people are playing slower. It's
A
kind of
lot
It's
slower.
frustrating.
insane.
It's
It's
ridiculous.
actually crazy, especially with the time rules, and it's one of the most toxic things in the entire game right now.
Yeah, like it's the amount of times where my opponent would just like spend way too long doing simple decisions is ridiculous. Like I put Scarlet in my deck for Nats. I was like, it was disgusting. Like I hated it. I hated having to use that card. But my opponent's just like took forever because they're used to whatever, like remote duels, dueling book, disc, whatever, where like they take that time. And I think like it's kind of something that needs to be addressed in the game right now, and something that needs to be worked on, because like they have to either extend the time, which I think they've done. It's like 45 minutes now, which is like helpful, but like people like they gotta like make sure
Do
people
you think that's
understand that the pace.
indicative of a better format, though? Like, if the games take longer, do you think that's indicative that like there's more variety, the games are taking longer, there's more back and forth? Whereas during Scythe format, you would get Scythe pass and then get killed next turn, where that didn't take that long. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
but
maybe
like
maybe the game's taking longer is, although a negative as far as, you know, sometimes you'll lose in time, but a positive as far as the experience.
I think
No,
combo mirrors
I
take
think
No,
it
I
was
feel what you're
more.
saying though.
I think it's
Like,
more some of it like the games are getting a little more balanced, but then there's just like also a lot more like combo trees that haven't been checked
Yeah.
that are allowing you to take these 10-minute
True.
turns. So it's a little bit of
yeah,
both.
exactly. I was gonna say
Maybe the
it's not.
game's not taking longer, but each action is
Yeah,
that more. There's more actions in a turn.
I think it's not the control decks are taking forever. It's the fact that everybody, like especially with all like the right decks, right, with like the Hulk right combos, those like if you know what you're doing, that shouldn't take that long. But the people like who
Anyone
like,
can play.
I remember
Hulk deck,
Despia taking
and
forever.
then anyone will take forever with it.
Connecticut.
Yeah, it was
Like,
it was
The Despia
frustrating.
mirrors.
It depends on the deck too. Like one of my favorite decks, like Salomon Great. Like you're not gonna take that long to combo with Salomon Great. But decks like Tier, like I've seen people just doing a practice hand and it's taking forever just to do a practice hand.
Yeah, I hate playing against that deck.
There's nothing the players
Yeah,
can
you
do.
can't.
Like,
If
Konami
I
designed,
like-
designed this deck to be this way, to have these certain lines. They've incorporated cards from the past that work well with the deck, and this is what we're here now making these plays. So it's like time is a factor, and it's like it's almost like they kind of wanted it to get to this point, you know, so the games
Yeah, I
last
mean,
longer.
yeah, I feel
Three
like Tier
Dogwood got second.
Tiers like
Hey.
especially is like unbearable to play against. It's so boring. Like they take like 15 minutes. Like it's better now that Hal can, especially Chaos Ruler like that.
Yeah.
Like
That whole engine was just insane.
If I ever
that was
play you in
ridiculous.
a match and you're playing Elements like on Dueling Book, bro, I'm gonna walk away from the screen. I'm gonna like make some
Yeah,
cereal, or whatever. Bro.
literally.
Like just tell me,
And then
like,
I'm gonna
what
come
you
back
search
and
for?
nib
I
you.
literally asked my Tesla partner, like, what'd you search off kit? Cool. I don't care about the rest. Like maybe you got a super poly set, maybe you got a miscus. I'll play through that. You know, just let me know what you
Yeah.
searched physically,
This is what,
because I'm not gonna sit here and look at the screen
Yeah,
while you mill eight.
I've been testing with Grinder. He plays this other Terramons or whatever. Like literally, when he plays, I'm like, all right, I'll be back in like 10 minutes. Like, do your stuff, bro. Like I don't know. I think I don't like the deck. I don't like how Terramons works. I think that it's like not great for the game.
I think it says
It's
a lot about the nature of the game, though. Like coming back from like not playing for like 4 years and then coming back where everyone's playing a combo deck, or like everyone's capable of playing a combo deck. That's not how it always was.
Yeah, I really
yeah.
enjoyed. I really enjoyed like everything. I don't know, like after the ban list with like Meow getting banned. I didn't like that. I liked when it was like Pranky and Source. Like those were like back and forth decks and less combo, more
Yeah, I love
interaction. I feel like
kids.
yeah, that deck was really fun.
God, yes.
Oh yes,
I think
everybody hates
the
playing
issue with
kids.
Oh,
Tier is
no.
like something that Joshua Schmidt alluded to, like in a recent interview, was that like people don't really like that type of mirror match.
Yeah, the mirror match is toxic. It's
Oh,
awful.
it's so
Exactly.
bad. Yeah, probably the worst.
It's why a
like
lot of
mirror
people. It's why
so long.
It's
why-
literally,
yeah.
it's literally like 10 times worse than the Orcus mirror. Like,
It's so bad. It's like because I found that with mirror matches a lot of the time, like previously, you get rewarded from deck building, you get rewarded from like playing better because your decks are similar and they can be back and forth. Both tier elements,
Yeah.
you don't get rewarded for deck building because like basically all the decks are relatively similar. They do the same thing, and you just get luck sucked. That's all it is. It's RNG.deck that just combos off, and the format seems like bad. So I'm playing Flandries.
It kind of
That's why-
Oh God,
that's why I like
no!
Sprite.
Oh
Whoa,
God,
no,
no!
we're not.
Yo.
It reminds me a little bit of
that's
2019
why
match.
I
There's
like
no way
Sprite.
you just say that, John. No way. I'm out.
That's why I'm playing
Interest.
Plunder.
That's why I really
But it
like
is-
Sprite. Like, I wish they would have hit swap to one and just kept Ronin.
Yeah, I love
Instead, I'm
Sprite.
like,
Yeah, I really like Sprite. I think that like the Sprite cards, they're insane, but they're insane in a way that like Sprite mirrors, they're not terrible. Like I played a few regionals like back in the like beginning of the format, like before the banlist or whatever. So like early August, and I even like I played a bunch of Sprite mirrors and I enjoyed them. Like they weren't bad. But then every time I play against Tier Element, like it's just I hate that deck. And the fact that like they ban Rodent Totem is just frustrating. I think but getting back to like the format, I think it's really important that I think Tier Element's like basically the best deck. I'm seeing the conversation here, but like I think Tier Element's just by far the best deck, and I think you have to be understanding of how that deck works and like make sure that your deck is able to beat it effectively, even if it's a mirror match. Like trying to find a way to give that competitive edge I was talking about that I haven't really seen in Tier Element mirrors. If you're able to find that, you're gonna have like a huge success.
Let's segue that into the new cards. What do you think? Is Tier still going to be the best deck when we get bisted? Because a Magnemite kind of fucks on that deck.
I think it's up in the air,
Definitely still a
honestly.
deck
Yeah,
to
it
be.
depends.
You can just look at the OCG. Like we don't even need to answer. Just look at the OCG. They have the best deck cards.
Nah,
and
that's
look at how
not. That's
Tier
not
Element-
the.
It's a
that's
little
not
bit
the
different,
same.
though.
They have
They
Ishizus.
have a certain insect monster there. It's a little different. And
Well,
and like Sprite
they have
decks,
the
man,
Ishizus. That's
the
what
format
matters.
comparison.
I don't like. I don't.
Yeah, but
I
like
wouldn't
those
even.
cards come out relatively
I
soon,
don't know.
right? So like, are we talking about the 1 month period before those Ishizu cards come out? Like we're just the best deck cards
I
illegal?
don't think. I
Like
don't
Tier
think
Element
Tears
will
is
be
by
playing the
far
Mystic
the
cards,
best
so like,
deck until you get the Shizu stuff. But
Yeah, I'm talking mini format, like when we're going to have
So-
Darkwing Blast.
I still
I
think
don't
it's the
know,
best
man.
deck.
It's like everyone thought PK was gonna be the nuts because it was in the
So
OCG
PK
because of
only
Scythe.
one event, and it was for like Florida PPG.
Yeah, it was for that
after
PPG. And then
the issue
Yeah.
with the
like I
tier
don't
And then
know.
it
I don't
just
think the
died.
OCG is that great of a reference.
I
The only issue with the
I agree
tier
with that. I agree with
is
that.
you have to build your deck to beat the mirror, but you also have to be prepared for the
everything else.
anti-tier decks.
See,
And that's why I like Sprite, because if people say like Sprite wasn't favored into tiers, well, that's cool. I can deck build for tiers because my deck engine by itself would beat everything else, where tiers would like struggle against those random rogue matchups.
I like
But
the new
yeah, I
spike
think,
cards.
huh?
I like the new spike cards. The new link is.
Oh, you
sick.
mean our Link 2 tier limit?
Yeah,
Sprite
You
Brand
mean
tier limit?
tier element Sprite
the
link?
Tier Element support.
No way you say like that, bro.
Hey, it's nice in my Sprite deck too, baby. We're dumping Galdagra. Let's go.
Oh yeah, that card is insane. I think
Yeah, you actually can't play
I've been
Galdagra
looking
though.
at that card since like OG Necros format.
I'm playing
You can't play
Galdagra.
Gal
Why can't I play that?
Yeah, that
because you
card's
just
the
gotta go
nuts.
Discord.
That thing's an Earth, bro.
No, the Shaddoll.
Oh no! We ain't dumping Shadalls, baby. We're dumping Kit Kalos, milling 5 runic spells, dumping Garuda, drawing a
You know
card.
what you're
we're
trending the
drawing
good
a
right
lot
now.
of cards, bro.
You know what's trending the good right now.
Oh, that's the spice.
They can know about it. It won't help them, bro.
Yeah,
Damn. Damn.
I see how you get.
Oh man, he said keep that same energy in Minnesota.
Oh, not yes.
I honestly I know it's bad, but I'm a fan of the runic cards. I think those cards are like.
Oh no, yeah, the cards are
really good.
dope.
They remind me
Yeah,
of
sick.
the True Draco cards because they have a heritage. Like
Oh,
the kill
yeah.
spell is just ridiculous.
It kind of reminded me of Striker. Like every card 1-for-1s, but like your cards replace themselves. Striker, it was like Engage would draw you a card to replace it every turn. Runic,
No,
every card draws you a card.
Yeah, it's like Disciples and Heritage in one card. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, you just recycle everything. Go 1-for-1 over and over until they have no cards left.
Yo, imagine the striker cards banish cards from your deck every time they activate them.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be insane.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think.
What's the sleeper for the upcoming YCS? Because I know some people are trying to like prepare for that.
Well, there's
Naturia.
there's a monster with 600 attack points, level 1, and Search is another level 1, and then you can summon Empen. I think that deck's pretty cool.
Oh, God help us.
Sleeper.
No, but I actually think the Naturia deck, if you get in on Bamboo Shoot like every turn, and they do it consistently, and they end on the Rika cards that tribute, you get like 4 tributes plus the Bamboo Shoot off the deck. It's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah. You're leaking the goo. She's in the Naturia.
Nobody's read the cards. Crazy.
I feel like
I'm about to
everyone
read them now.
read them like months ago, and then not many
Yeah, I just
people know
forgot
that they're
about 'em.
coming out in this. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to see like if is it gonna be another like Niagara? We're gonna see just like Sprite and Tier just dominating the top cut again, and like Utrecht.
I
I mean,
think
more
it's
than
gonna be.
likely.
I think it's gonna be like Tier's gonna take up at least half the form, like half the top cut.
Yeah, I think so too.
And the rest of the decks are just gonna be stuff like, probably gonna be like an Eldritch, a Floandries, an Exo Sister, like
You know
stuff
what
like that,
deck?
and then like maybe a quarter or less Sprite.
You know
Like
what
the
deck
runic
has a
decks.
really good matchup against Tier? Is the Rika deck.
I think that deck's cool. I like the Rika deck. I think
I could see Brandon coming back too. That's probably a big one to think about for many because they play so well with the Bisted cards. Like they actually play a full Bisted engine,
Yeah,
which makes
they
the
get a
tier
new
matchup free as
monster.
fuck.
That's insane. He's like a poly, and he's a high spirits target.
Yep.
yeah, the Vista cards are pretty sick.
Like that deck still takes like 5% of the OCG, and they have like 2 branded fusion, 1 opening. Like they've banned like half that deck, and it still takes up like a couple top cut slots with a Shizu legal over there. So I
And
think
that
it
deck
could do
can
something over
scythe.
here for sure.
Yeah, I think that deck does seem cool. That's a cool sleeper pick. I agree, and it's also getting new support. I think like there's new branded cards coming out, so like that deck I think is only gonna get better over the next few sets like that because it's like I don't know, it's like one of those like what do you say, like there's like a plot to it or whatever, right? So Konami's gonna print more cards for it, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it'll get better over time. It definitely seems like a cool sleeper pick. Brand Fusion's ridiculous. That card is just insane.
Yeah, and if people keep not running Ash,
Yeah,
just
if
look
people
better.
show up with no Ash, to many, I promise like 3 or 4 branded will be top. But if everybody's playing Ash, probably not that many. But
It's crazy how the meta shifts within a format. Where like in the beginning of the format, X deck is good, and then by the end of it, it might not even be relevant because of the tech cards people decide to use. And it happens every single format from one event to the next event. Even Jesse talking about it, how at his the deck that he played at the South American event was ahead of its time because it played around Nib when nobody was playing Nib, and then people started to play Nib at the next event. It's something you mentioned in his deck profile that was kind of interesting. I don't think people really
And
talk
him not
about a lot
releasing a
about.
profile was like so big for him.
Well, I mean, the list got leaked anyways. I don't know. It got posted online.
Odin
So
was playing it, right?
Bowden was playing it, but like
no,
they didn't give in-depth
no, Bowden
like
wasn't playing it.
explanation.
He wasn't playing the high spirit. Bowden was playing the high spirits version. But Jesse's list, I don't know who posted it, but it was like a picture of it, of his whole entire list.
Wait, Jesse played high spears?
No, he didn't.
Yeah. Bowden did though.
Yeah, Bowden did at the
okay.
at the Oceanics.
yeah, instead of the expanded dangers and stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, if people just do that same combo, next format is going to be so ignorant. Eradicator, Dweller, Blinds. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are going to play Sprite. Like, it might have the most top cut spots just because, like, everyone in my locals plays this still. So
Sprite new ban list. It's kind of like
I mean, it's all about just
like,
being
it's just
ahead
easy
in
to
what you think
build.
people are playing. Yeah.
I think people have not prepared for like the Ibly version of Sprite because like
Do
it's
you
not
guys
a lot
wanna?
of like
What do you guys think is gonna do well at YCS Utrecht? Because like it's a little bit different than the other one that's happening.
Oh
Just
yeah,
because it's not a
we haven't like
3v3.
talked about that.
yeah. I
Whatever
mean,
Herman builds.
I think
Burn.
I think for tiers you got pure, you got Luna Light tier, and then you got like the runic tier.
What's the paleo deck? The paleo tier. I think that's cool.
Also,
I think
the thing is, do you think like they're gonna play the same type of decks over there that what they're gonna do in Ecuador, or they're gonna be like more similar?
no.
Or
I mean,
No.
it's gonna
on both sides?
it's gonna be a lot different. I think the Utrecht they're gonna get a little cheeky with their like tier stuff, but
When you say cheeky, like what do you mean with that?
like maybe like I can see a lot of like people move a lot towards like the pure tier or like the
yeah,
danger
they
tier.
favor control decks over there. So
But you might see some trap decks, and then you might see maybe some more danger like tier stuff over there. Or you might see more like pure tier here. Something I was also thinking about. I was seeing a little bit of like the runic tier, so I don't know.
What do you think of the recap deck?
I think it just depends on how many hand traps people are playing.
Yeah.
It feels like whenever you're coming into a new format, people try to play no hand traps to avoid being in a situation where they don't know how to use them. So I think always heading into a new format, it's safe to say that like it'll probably be like the least amount to play hand traps, and then it happens like literally the last like 1 to 2 years. At the end of the format, people just realize, oh, we're just gonna put Nibiru in every deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, first week is triple Dark Ruler, triple Mine,
Literally,
triple Super
yeah.
Poly, and then 5 weeks later it's Ash,
Nib,
Nib,
Veiler,
Imperm.
Yeah.
Mourner literally sneaks in like the last 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
I think we gotta.
Always these scythe decks, like people, because the thing is, and it's happened a few times where like one of the ways to get scythe gets hit, and then people go to the other way, like Wonder Magician from because when like the Verte stuff got banned, people stopped playing scythe for a minute, and then people like, oh, Wonder Magician is just scythe Baron, and then it got popular, and then
Yeah,
Moira comes back, and then
it's just the progression of the meta too. Like as the format goes, people become progressively more optimal with their combos, and they become more unfair. So you then have to play, these hand traps to make sure that you can mitigate, how good these optimal combos are.
And hand traps shift throughout the format.
Would anybody play
Correct.
Nib right now if they're going to Utrecht or no?
I'm not gonna let you know.
I don't know. Yeah. Hold on. I may have Nib in my hand or not.
I'd have it in the side deck. I don't think I'd put it in my main deck at your turn.
I'm just gonna let the podcast know it's a possibility.
Nib just seems like a card that I want to exist in my deck.
But
at any given event, like whether it's in the main deck or the side deck, I want Nib to be somewhere within my deck list.
And I don't want to be at the point where they know I just don't have Nib and that information goes around like ever. So
yeah.
Do you guys have anything else you want to say before we start wrapping this up?
40 versus 40, gotta love to see it.
City boys.
Yes, sir.
I love my city boys.
You actually nailed it with that one. I'm gonna lie.
All right. Looks like we can just wrap this up then. Shout out to our sponsor, Dragon Inc. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. Make sure you go check them out.
They got the best merch and the best play match.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we got the best players, so stay tuned.